Dixie here. Today I want to talk to you about my newest tent that I recently purchased, and that is the StratoSpire Lithium made by Tarptent. I had gotten this tent, a poncho tarp, and a new hammock setup to test out for a 100-mile stretch each on my through hike of the Pinhoti trail that I'm supposed to be on right now. The main reason I was interested in the StratoSpire Lithium specifically is I'm considering taking it with me on my through hike of the TA in New Zealand instead of my Zpacks Duplex. The StratoSpire Lithium is a double-walled tent. It's got an inner mesh body, and then the outer rainfly, if you will, is made of Dyneema, so it's lightweight like the Duplex. But because double-walled tents are projected to do better in climates like that of New Zealand, then I figured it might be a good idea to make the switch. But before I get ahead of myself here, let's talk about the features and specs. Just like the Zpacks Duplex, the StratoSpire Lithium is a two-person tent that has an entryway and vestibule on either side of the tent. As I mentioned, the outside and actually the floor are made of Dyneema, which is great for strength and weight savings. And like any other Dyneema tent, it should perform well in windy weather. Another pro of a tent being made out of Dyneema is that it won't hold the water weight that other materials will, and it also stays taut. The Lithium line of tents from Tarptent are already seam sealed, so that's not something you have to worry about when you get this tent. Like the Duplex, this tent sets up using 2 trekking poles, or you can opt to purchase separately their pole system, so it's a freestanding tent. The floor, like the Zpacks Duplex, is durable and does not require a footprint underneath, so you don't have to worry about the extra weight of that. And there are some features that set it apart from the Duplex. As I mentioned, it is double walled, so you can set up the outer portion and then attach the inner separately if you wanted to try to protect the floor from getting wet when you set it up. I probably wouldn't fool with that, but you could if you wanted to. The inner body of the tent is made out of fine mesh. They call it no-seam mesh, so you shouldn't have any issues with bugs getting in. Having the inner mesh makes the tent more breathable, so there should be less condensation that forms, but also you don't have your sleeping bag and other items rubbing directly against the wall of the tent, collecting that dampness. Another thing that sets it apart is it has pitch lock corners, which are supposed to allow for a more taut pitch, but I also think that they add a little bit more head space and foot space, depending on which way you're flipped around in the tent, because it kind of pulls the wall back. Another feature that I found today that was interesting and I hadn't seen before is that it has magnetic tiebacks, so they just kind of snap up together, and I just really love that. Another thing I really like about it is the mesh inner is adjustable, so you can make the floor a little more taut, and then also above give yourself some more headspace so you don't have that droopy mesh knocking you in the head while you're trying to do stuff in your tent. And there are mesh pockets on either side of the tent to store things like your cell phone or battery bank, etc. But I like that they're part of the wall part of the mesh instead of flopping down onto the floor. That way I don't have to try to avoid crushing my cell phone with my knee every time I climb in and out of the tent. As far as the specs go, this is considered a 3 to 4 season tent. You can get a solid wall on the inner instead of the mesh wall to make it a little bit warmer if you wanted to take it into the winter. But I don't really backpack in the winter, so I was fine with the mesh walls, plus it saved a little weight. The weight of this tent, the way that it is with the mesh body, the fly, the stuff sack, is 26 ounces. So that's 6 to 7 ounces heavier than the Zpacks Duplex. And it comes with 6 tent stakes that weigh a total of 1.7 ounces. So with the setup as it comes with the mesh body, you're looking at 27.7 ounces, including the stakes. And then if you got a solid body, you could expect to add 3 more ounces. So that's still under a 2-pound tent. The height of this tent is 45 inches versus the peak height of the Zpacks Duplex that is 48 inches. The floor width for the StratoSpire Lithium and the Zpacks Duplex are both 45 inches. And the length is where it is a little different. The StratoSpire Lithium is only 86 inches, where the Zpacks Duplex is 90 inches long. So for the total floor area in the StratoSpire Lithium, you're looking at 26.9 square feet, where the Zpacks Duplex has 28.1 square feet. As I mentioned, this tent comes with 6 stakes, but I would recommend having 8 because that's the only way I felt like I could get it taut enough. And also, if you want to roll back both doors of the vestibule, that's the only way you can do it. The StratoSpire Lithium has 2.5 millimeter reflective guy lines, and they do include the guy lines for you to attach to those other 2 stakes that I was mentioning, but you will have to get the stakes separately. In addition to the 2 extra guy lines that they send you as a complimentary gift, you also get some repair tape. And when I first looked at it, it was like all jagged and looked like some scrap tape they sent me. And I thought, well, that's kind of raggedy looking. But then I started thinking about it from a different perspective. And that means that there's less waste. And sure, they could have trimmed it up and made it look a little bit nicer, but then I'm actually getting less than what they sent me. So sometimes it's about perspective. As far as ease of setup goes, I put it up for the first time today, and Tarptent says that it should take less than 2 minutes, but it took me a lot longer than that. I think the next time though, now that I've gotten the hang of it, I could do it in half the time, and probably my 3rd time I would be less than 2 minutes. But it took a little toying around, but I got it taut on the first try. So maybe that says something for their pitch lock foldable corner system. And for the price, the Tarptent StratoSpire Lithium runs $689 versus the Zpacks Duplex, which is $599. So is the extra $90 and 6 to 7 added ounces worth some extra bells and whistles and the added ventilation and reduction in condensation? I don't know, but I'll let y'all know as soon as I test it out. I know these prices sound insane if you're somebody who's only gonna spend a few nights in a tent in a year, but for those of us who go out for months and months and are carrying this weight for thousands of miles, it's really worth it to have something lightweight, that's durable in windy weather, that doesn't collect a lot of rainwater. So while it sounds insane, you have to remember that it's like 6 months of rent for me, depending on which through hike I'm on. But I do realize that this price tag doesn't work for everybody, so stay tuned for a budget gear list that I'm gonna share soon in a video. I was also planning on testing those items out on the Pinhoti, but all of that together costs less than this tent. So anyway, be looking out for that. Thank y'all so much for watching today. Don't forget to subscribe before you go if you enjoyed the video, and we will see y'all next time.